Welcome to Gene's Reviews, where I basically do whatever the hell I want. Hello, everybody. Okay, it's the start of a new week. I know. Bummer. But today we're going to check one out. It's called The Old Woman Who Lived with 92 Ghosts. That's a pretty specific number of ghosts. 92 of them. Wonder how they knew there was 92. Let's check it out.
At first, you can't tell.
I don't really see anything.
This is an example
Maybe
of
on the
entities
left
with
of the
which
doorway.
The woman that you're about to know had to live with. This is just the tip of the iceberg.
Okay, I didn't see
More
that.
than a dozen photos like this one arrive in my email and serve as evidence
that I could see.
for one of the most spectacular stories that I've received. For years, this channel has become one of the largest when it comes to presenting paranormal videos, whose probability of being real is quite high. That is my objective, to present cases only to analyze events that I believe are real. My email is flooded with videos that I have to review daily. However, sometimes stories also arrive, some with evidence and others without. I don't usually upload these stories since many times it's just text, without nothing real to show you. However, last week, that changed. One of the darkest and most interesting paranormal stories I have ever heard of came to me. And tonight, you will also have the honor of knowing it.
Oh boy.
My name is Leonore Clay, and this is The Darkest Secret. Today we present The Old Woman Who Lived with 92 Ghosts. The one who
Sounds
tells
like
us
my
the
neighbor's
story
leaving.
is a 42-year-old man. Carlos Jara is his name. He writes to us by email telling us a terrifying scenario. His email is titled, The 92 Ghosts of My Nana. He begins by telling us that he was remodeling a house that he had inherited from his grandmother, his Nana, an old and poorly maintained house. Almost the entire vinyl floor was moldy.
Yeah, that's nasty.
Several areas of the house had broken boards, so
That
he had a lot to repair.
mold will kill you.
Especially since his goal was to sell it. So he decided to start with his grandmother's room, since it was the most
Look on the walls.
with
Ew.
dark patches of mold everywhere. They started pulling out the boards to see how bad the mold was. It turns out that while they were taking out the flooring, the carpenters told him that they had found a locked trunk. It was odd and worn out. He did not have the key, and for that reason, he had to take it to a locksmith. When he was finally able to open it, he found a horrifying surprise.
I bet I could have got into
A
it.
surprise that today has explained dozens of incidences he experienced as a child. A story that I know will make you shudder. So get comfortable in your seat, and if you're brave, turn off the lights. Carlos wrote us an extensive letter that is not necessary to share with you today. There, he gives us even the smallest of detail on everything. An experience that, according to him, began in his childhood. Therefore, after being consumed by a story, I decided to tell you in the correct order, from what he remembers when he was a child. You see, In order to understand the context, it is necessary to go back to the year 1993, when Carlos was 12.
Okay.
It turns out that as a child and part of his youth, he went to his grandmother's house every Saturday. A nice, adorable old woman, a book lover. In fact, he remembers that the house had dozens of shelves full of old books, more than half of which he had no idea what they were about. A kind lady who from time to time would go into a sour and unpleasant state of mind for no apparent reason. That is what Carlos remembers most about her.
So she'd go from
In spite
happy
of
to
everything,
being real
he
sad?
liked that house because it
mean?
was big. It had 2 living rooms and many other rooms. He also tells us that as a child, he loved to play hide and seek along these old hallways. However, there were a couple of times that strange things happened to him in that house. I know that this has also happened to you, having a deep memory of something strange that you experienced and that you never forgot.
Yep.
You see, he described in great detail all the things he experienced while he stayed in that house. But here I will leave you the most interesting ones. He tells me that he doesn't know if he really lived them like that, or if his mind has changed them. He asks himself this question because the things he experienced are extremely horrifying. On one occasion, he was sleeping in one of the 2 guest rooms and woke up to go to the bathroom. On the way there, he began to hear some noises. The corridor where he was located led directly to the dining room. There was no light to turn on. He just stood there, paralyzed, saying that he remembers the sound of moving chairs, as if someone was relocating them and opening cabinets. He assumed it was a thief. Terror took over him, and he did nothing but take refuge in the bathroom.
At 12 years
The
old,
next morning,
yeah.
he discussed this with his grandparents, but even though they checked, everything was in place. Nothing looked like a thief had broken in, nor was it anyone present at the house at that moment. To this day, he remembers that event and assures that it was real. But he is not sure if everything happened as he remembers, since things were moving aggressively. He also remembers when he was 15, when he was in the kitchen and saw the reflection of something strange in his teacup while at a family gathering. It was like a dark reflected shadow standing right in the doorway behind him. Also during that time, he tells us that he had spent a week on vacation there with his cousins. They played and had fun, but on one occasion while he was running through one of the corridors, he began to smell something similar to a bum. That typical smell of someone who hasn't bathed in weeks.
Okay.
And leaves a trace of aroma in the place where they passed by. That same odor was emitted there, and since they were playing hide and seek, Carlos thought it would be a good way to find the one that hadn't bathed, following its disgusting trail. Therefore, he was going to follow the aroma that was very strong.
Yeah, you'd...
But he was led to the
natural. I'd
bathroom
do
on the
that.
first floor. And there, once he opened the curtain to see if someone was hiding in the bathtub, he felt that someone tugged at him by the shirt. It was sudden, brief, but very intense. So much so that he ended up with the nails marked on his torso. But when he turned around, no one was there. He is sure that it is impossible for any of his cousins to have escaped and disappeared so quickly. He says that he had taken a photo of the marks left on his torso from that grip, but he does not remember where they are. The most curious thing was that later his cousins assured him that absolutely none of them had hidden in the bathroom. Then he told me about the other 15 different experiences he had. But the last odd thing he lived through in that house was on one of his last visits at the age of 17. He spent the night there because they celebrated a new year. He woke up at dawn because he started to feel someone's leg in the bed. It is something normal when you sleep with someone else. Someone else's leg under the sheets.
But when you're alone,
he
it's enough to
accidentally
freak you
kicked
out.
that leg, and that made him wake up.
Yeah.
He felt it with his foot, its bony heel, and it was indeed an adult leg. He doesn't know if it was a man's or a woman's, since it was very wide and large. It couldn't be any of his cousins, and that was the only possibility, because adults never slept in the rooms with them. When he turned to see who was sleeping next to him, could you believe it? Indeed, no one was there.
No one, yeah.
The next morning when he told the story, the family took it as a joke. His cousins assured that they had also experienced strange things, but it all remained as a simple anecdote.
I can
After
see my
that
dad
age, he no
telling me
longer
that it
stayed
was
in
a
that
dream
house,
or something like
not
that.
out of fear, because his cousins grew up. They went out with friends, with their partners, and it was getting boring. The times he went to that house afterwards were sporadic, to say hello, but he never stayed there for more than a couple of hours, except for a cousin's birthday or something specific. It was very infrequent, and then nothing else happened. When his grandmother passed away 5 years ago, he was 37. Carlos was surprised because she left him the house as an inheritance. Among his 8 cousins, she chose him, and until now, he doesn't know why. The house was old, poorly maintained, and it smelled. Therefore, he decided to remodel it a bit to
Maybe
sell it.
that's why, because she
Now
knew
we come
get
to what
rid
I
of
told
it.
you
She
in
knew
the
he'd
intro.
get rid of it.
The moldy floorboards, and that trunk that lay open in front of him. Since he didn't know what it contained, he decided to wait until he got home to open it. Inside were letters, newspapers, and various notes. The truly horrifying thing was all those photos. Photos and more photos. Like this.
This is the one that I can't see it right now, but there I see it when it brightens up. I see that kind of right in the
Do you
center.
notice anything in them?
That one I didn't see anything. Now I can see that in the very back through the door. And this one kind of to the left of the light, there's a shadow figure there.
When he showed them to his mother, she told him something that his grandmother Carmen had taken to her grave. You see, when
I don't
he
see
sees
anything
the
there.
photos of the old version of the house, they brought back memories immediately. Because of course, this house changed its look and architecture many times during Carmen's life there. It was then that Carlos's mother told him something that made his blood run cold. She told him that when she was little, her mother Carmen would have gatherings with
Wow.
a group of friends. They smoked and read in different rooms of this huge house. Back then, she believed that her mother had some kind of book club. At least that's what she told her. However,
Some of
Carlos's
those
mother
are
remembers that
really,
she spent much of her
they stand
childhood
out a lot.
at her aunt's house. since Carmen met with her friends at least twice a week, and she could not be present. She never explained why her daughter had to go, but she would anyway. Sometimes she had to spend weeks at her aunt's house without receiving a single call from her mom. This happened when Carlos's mother was between 9 and 14 years old, so she remembers it very well. She recalls the wax of the candles stuck to the cold ceramic floor. Sometimes she found used candles on shelves and in all kinds of
Oh,
food.
that one's scary there.
They are for praying, said Carmen. But now that her daughter sees these
So's
photos,
that.
she fervently believes that the reason was something else. They spent all that afternoon reading the letters that were inside the trunk. Some of them were indeed letters.
What's with the candles on the
But there
floor,
were other
though?
papers that described 92 people who are called remnants. The tall woman, said one of those papers. The tall woman is a periodic remnant, disproportionate being that usually appears with long legs.
Right. I saw that one. And I thought, when I first saw it, extremely
The
tall.
priest, a rare remnant. He's a being with a blurry face, bald, and wears monk-like clothes
Okay.
from the 1400s. The thing,
Yeah, that
very
one's creepy.
rare remnant. The thing is an amorphous being, not a person. Sometimes it appears with limbs, and sometimes it doesn't. It usually disappears with the photos. And so on. Carlos tells us that each one of those 92 spectra has a complete description, not only of appearance, but also of the behavior they had in each of these sessions.
That looks like a woman. So does that, a little bit.
Something quite shocking to reflect on while you see these images. Carlos said he spent 2 days
I don't
putting
understand
the
what the
photos
deal with
together
all the
with their
candles is, though.
descriptions to try to make a correlation. Apparently, there aren't photos of all 92, but there is of a large amount of them. What is going on here? What was the grandmother doing in those sessions with her friends? Carlos tells us that he believes, as much as it hurts him, that his grandmother was a witch.
Yep.
A
Oh, I
real
just got
witch.
chills.
That nice and smiling face kept unimaginable horrors underneath.
Wow. I got goosebumps, big time.
Our subscriber also tells me that he feels extremely terrified since he believes that all the things he experienced as a child can be associated with one of these photos, that the leg he felt in bed that night could belong to one of these specters, and that thought makes his every hair stand on end. That time something hurt him while playing hide and seek, it was also one of these beings. His mother told him that once, when he was about 11 years old, he had a sleepover in her house. The grandmother was the only one there with them, and at one moment, she sat them all in a circle. It was night, and she sat them all in this very place. And singing, she began to throw dry herbs on top of them. Sure, they thought she was playing, but who knows what she was really doing. Carlos also remembers that his grandmother was insistent that he and his cousins visit her, that she almost begged their parents to bring them. And now that he thinks about it, he suspects that it was for something related to these terrifying things. This is without a doubt the most lurid and spectacular case that I have seen in a
Yeah,
long
that's
time.
nuts.
What do you think of this case?
Nice, sweet
Would you like to
grandma
know
is
the
El
description
Bruja.
of each of these beings? I was going to incorporate them in this video, but it was too long. Express your thoughts in the comment box if you would like me to make a second video clearly covering the description of those specters and the other experiences that Carlos told me about. Has something like this happened to you in your life? If you have any interesting paranormal story that you would like for me to know, email me, but don't forget to attach the evidence. It is with only audiovisual material that I can put together this type of video. Tell me what you thought of this case, because this video has already come to an end.
Wow. That one's got anything that's happened to me beat. Well, not everything, I guess, but when I was a little kid and I used to go visit my grandparents, I was always afraid to go upstairs. And upstairs was the bedroom where my dad and my uncle slept when they were like teenagers. And for some reason, I was always afraid to go up there. It was real cramped going up the stairs. It was a really narrow stairway. And I dreamed about it and stuff too and had nightmares. I never went up there. When we would go visit, she'd ask me if I wanted to sleep upstairs, and no, and I slept on the couch in the living room because I was always afraid to just go up there for some reason. I think my uncle, I wouldn't have put it past him. He was probably doing some stuff up there he shouldn't have been doing, messing with some Ouija boards and stuff like that. That's what I think. But I don't know. My dad was the type of person that if he knew about it, he probably would have flipped out at my uncle. But in reality, he would just tell himself, oh, this is stupid. None of this is real. So he didn't have any experiences like that. At least he never talked about it. But I did. So I believe in that stuff. And, yeah. Let me know what you thought of that video in the comments down below. I thought that was really good, and that was really creepy. It wasn't what I was expecting. I was expecting more video evidence and stuff like that, but it was mainly pictures and the story. But it was chilling in that one part. It gave me chills when it all come to pass that Grandma was a witch. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought. Now it's time for a joke. This girl told me that the first time she had sex, she felt cheap. I said, next time charge more.